Hey there, I'm BeeJayDeL, and I just want to personally thank you for purchasing my Procreate cartooning brush set. Today's video, I'm going to walk you through the install process on the brushes in case you need help with that, then also show you some best practices when you go to actually put the brushes into use. So when you get the file, you'll see it is a zip file. There's a few different ways to actually import these into Procreate. This method I'm going to walk you through doesn't involve downloading any unzip apps for the iPad from the store. So this one, it takes a little bit longer, but like I said, it's not gonna involve downloading anything else. So what we're gonna do once we have the file, we're gonna preview the content. You'll see it showing me file 1 of 8. Yours is actually gonna have 9 in it because it's gonna have the README file, which I have not added yet. That's how you got to this video. But the first thing we're gonna do is hit the up arrow here, and we're going to slide over and you'll see copy to Procreate option. We're gonna do that, and then it's going to import into Procreate, and it's going to show up under your imported right here. As you can see, I've already tested these out and have all of these installed, so I'm going to delete that one. But then you'll just go back to your file, slide here to go to file 2, up, copy to Procreate, so on and so forth. Obviously, I've got these all added in, and I don't think you want to see me add all those in, so just repeat that process, get them all into Procreate, and you're good to go. Personally, I like to arrange these and just have the regular version of the pencil followed by the streamlined version. One thing I want to throw out there, and I know I put it in the description for the files themselves and the brush set, is these streamlined versions aren't just the same brush with streamline option turned up. Honestly, the brush itself works a lot different once you have streamline turned on. So there's different adjustments that are made to those with the pressure sensitivity, the taper, so on and so forth. So just because each of these have a streamline, don't think that I just turned up the streamline and called it a separate brush. They do act differently. So we'll go ahead and go on the first one, which is the cartoon sketch pencil. So this one's got a nice just pencil look to it. It's got a kind of charcoal-y feel, and you can adjust the opacity on this to adjust kind of the overall darkness of your sketch lines until you get a nice comfortable feel. You can turn this up all the way and have the opacity maxed out, and as long as you go really gentle on here and don't apply a lot of pressure, you can still get a pretty light result out of it. But I personally like to turn this one down when I am sketching to kind of give me, you know, the look that I'm going for, to give a nice pencil cartoon sketch look that's not too heavy. It's kind of nice because you have the broken up parts. It has that, like I said, that pencil look to it. So it does feel pretty natural. So play around with that one. You can get some really cool effects. And then once you're ready to actually darken in, just pump up that opacity to all the way there. And then you can start going around and filling this in darker. If you want to do it on a different layer here so that you can knock out that sketch layer, that's recommended as well. But you can see there's some really cool results that you can get out of this. It's a really nice heavy dark line that almost has like an inking feel to it, but it's still broken up to where it has that same pencil feel to the viewer. And I really like using this one. You can do some really cool stuff with that. And then once you're ready to shade, you can drop the opacity down here, and then just kind of tilting the pencil to the side, you can throw in some shading gradients here. Once again, the lighter that you go, the lighter that the shading is going to be. You go harder with the pressure, you can get a lot darker value out of it. But once again, this is just using one brush. You're not switching between brushes, you're just going through with one, so you can kind of save yourself time from hunting through the different brushes, and it gives you, you know, like I said, a lot more options for just using the single one than going back and forth. And then following this one, then you have the streamline. With the streamline here, of course, we'll turn up the opacity. And this I usually use like if I'm doing cartoon faces. If you're doing, you know, like a large swooping motion around for the chin and you want like a nice smooth line, that's what that is good for. Keeps the jitters down and the shakiness of your hand. Or if you're doing stuff like here with the ears, you can do those really nice and easy, and those are going to give you nice smooth lines as well. It's not tapered too much. be a little bit, but I wanted to keep the taper down on the end of this one, just because when these lines meet up, you want to make sure that they actually connect rather than having it drop off too much at the end. So that's why you won't see as much of a taper on this. You've got a very slight taper, but it's nothing crazy, and it's more of a faded taper. So that is it for the cartoon sketch pencil. Let's go ahead and clear this out. And let's go to the next one, which is the standard inker. And this one's pretty much kind of my go-to. This one, you'll see you get a just beautiful taper coming off of this. Gives you a really sharp, professional cartooning look. This is pretty much what I've perfected and used on most of my stuff lately. I was using a previous brush, and there was certain things I didn't like about it, and really took the time to kind of perfect this one. And this has been my go-to. I just love the nice tapers that you get. And with those, honestly, it's just kind of in the wrist and in the pressure that you do. You want to start off, you know, kind of light-handed and go in heavier, and then light again at the end. Now, the one thing with this you'll notice is you can get that nice taper at the beginning, but if you're connecting, let's say, a line here, and let's just make this an eye, and you want a line here coming out for the eye, this line you want pretty much butted up against this and not tapered off, since this is so thick. So the way I made this brush is you can still get a nice thick start to that line by pressing down, and you'll see that blends in really nice to that line right there. But just by going back out here and, like I said, starting light and going heavier, you can still get a nice taper when you need it, or you can get that heavy line when you're butting the lines up against each other. And that's kind of one of the things I think a lot of the brushes fail at, and that's why I needed to kind of perfect this one and make it perfect. So, and then once again, going here to the streamline, same thing here. You're going to have a very smooth line. Once again, you've got a nice taper on both ends, but this one acts in the same way. If you need a line butted up here, you can go in and it's still going to give you a nice heavy line if you press down, and it still gives you a nice taper there at the end. So that is it for the standard inker. Let's go ahead and clear this out, and we'll go into the bold. And with the bold, works a lot like the standard. It's just super, super thick. And you'll see here, I don't even have this turned up all the way. Once again, with this one, much like the streamline, I didn't just max out the size with this. Once you get super big, everything starts kind of playing different and reacting different from, you know, the same brush just turned up. So once again, this one has separate adjustments made to it. It's not the standard with just maxed out settings. I did adjust the tapers here and the way that the pressure comes out, and this one reacts in the same way here too, which you can still get that nice thick line, but then also get the nice smooth tapers at the beginning and ends, just depending on how hard that you press on the pencil. And then the streamline with this, once again, too, to give those nice smooth lines that you can just kind of curve around and don't have any jitter or shakiness to them. This one's good when you're really wanting to make an impact with your lines and do something super bold. Let's clear that out. And then finally, we have the Sketch Ink Shade. This one I think is one of my favorite new ones, just because it's basically 3 brushes in one. And I'll show you what I mean here. So we're going to go ahead and turn down the opacity on the side. And this is the sketch part of it. And you'll see, I'm just going to do some circles here. You can see this is a very just nice, smooth sketching pen, and you just get some really nice smooth lines out of it. They're very light, but they have just that overall just kind of sharpness to them. You can see what you're doing, and then as you adjust this, you can kind of play with the settings. Now we've got it turned up to max, and we can go ahead and go in and ink on top. So here's where you might want to, you know, start a new layer to do the inking on top, and pulling the lines around. You can see this really works almost like the inkers from the past 2 that we did. It's got a really nice solid look to it, but it still has a kind of faint side to it as well that has a nice smoothness to it. We'll just pull this around and see too the versatility in the size. Just by pressing down and changing the pressure, you can get a lot of different line sizes out of here. You can go super thin or you can go super thick as well. And this is all from using the same one. And then over here, dropping the opacity back down. This is going to be the shading side, and taking the pencil and tilting it on its side at a really sharp angle here at the side here. We can start to kind of shade and fill in here, and you'll see you can get a lot of different values out of this too. And I usually like to kind of keep my finger over here and kind of play with the opacity as I'm doing it, so you can just get the right amount to give the right look. See, it's got a really nice just fade to it. If you turn up the size too, you can get rid of some of the lines and just make it more natural coming through. You'll see there. And then going back over, you can kind of build this up, since that first pass did have an opaqueness to it. And just by letting up on your stroke and the pressure, you can kind of fade them around. And as you can see, you know, this is one single brush. I'm just using this by itself, no jumping back and forth between brushes up here, and I'm just getting a lot of different values out of one brush. I use this for sketching and for shading and for inking. It's kind of the do-all brush if you don't want to hop back and forth. And then of course the streamline here. Streamline with this, I wouldn't use it too much on the sketching process or the shading, but obviously for the inking, once again, if you're doing, you know, the face shape and you need to bring that around, it's got a nice curve to it, and you can kind of get some steady lines out of that and not have to worry about the shakiness and jitters. So that's the streamline for that. Like I said, mostly recommended for the inking, but that's the run through of the 8 different brushes. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for buying the brush pack. Really look forward to seeing what you guys do with it too. If you are not part of the Keep Creating group over on Facebook, really recommend you guys hop over there and join. I'll put the link in the description to this video. Keep Creating, the Learn, Draw, Share Art community. It's a community I started on Facebook, so you can share art, get feedback, meet like-minded artists, and it's a really cool place to hang out. So definitely hop on over there. And once again, thanks guys, I appreciate it.